Shabbat Shalom, everybody. You are in the right place. If you can get your candles ready, we will begin shortly. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We will begin with an unusual nigun. We turn now in our prayer books to page 2, and I know that those of you who have the larger prayer book that encompasses all of our services, that will be on page 120. So I will be reciting 2 different page numbers. If you have the smaller prayer book, it would be the number in parentheses that I'm also reciting. So it should be the same for both prayer books. The lower number in the smaller prayer book and the larger number in the all-encompassing prayer book. We are now going to turn to our candle blessing on page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We will now begin our Kabbalat Shabbat service, where we welcome Shabbat in as a bride. You can turn to page 20 or page 138 for our prayer Lecha Dodi. We will do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלקחי כמקור הברכה מראש, מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה פרשו מקטן בחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי, אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Please rise and face the entrance to your home. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובשכלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי פגלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Page 24 or 142 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Ilyu. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem Shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Ilyu. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Ilyu. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Ilyu. Mi Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We will continue on page 26, 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemi Rabbah, V'yamad Yivrach Yirutei, V'yamlech Malchutei, V'chayechonu v'yomechon, Uv'chayedecha ben Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala, Uv'izman kol יהי שמירה במבורך, לעלמו מעלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו. לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן מעלמה, ויאמרו אמן. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. Please rise for the Baruch Hu and face east. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated if you are standing. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom on the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Last week, I described the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy. Tonight, we continue with the 45th reading from the Torah and the second reading by Et Hanan, which means, and I besought. The title comes from the first verse of the reading, which says, I also pleaded, by Et Hanan, with the Lord at that time. And that is Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 23. In this portion, we hear the repetition of the Ten Commandments and the famous first passage of the Shema, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9, which I will chant tonight. This portion by Et Hanan reinforces the idea of our own free will While we cannot always control our circumstances, we are responsible for the ethical and spiritual choices we make as we walk our path through life. Vayet Chanan reminds us that we all have the ability and the invitation to walk that path. We all must be involved in translating the wisdom of our sacred texts to our contemporary lives, if they are to have an impact. As we hear the Shema, the declaration of the fundamentals of the Jewish faith, that of the unity of one God, we also hear the words which follow, those of the V'ahavta, which are the extension of the Shema prayer. These words speak to the mitzvot of loving God. They speak of studying his Torah. They speak of binding these words as tefillin on our arms and our heads, inscribing them in the mezuzot affixed to the doorposts of our homes and workplaces. Amongst these very words are four in particular, V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, which translate to impress them upon your children and recite them. This translation, used and explained in our Torah commentary as well as our prayer book, the Mishkan Tefillah, chooses the word impress for V'shinantam. Most English prayer books over the century use the translation teach these words to your children. I like the word impress because it is not enough for us to love God and keep God's words upon our hearts. We are commanded to pass God's words on to our children, our own and other people's children. Teaching them is not enough. We must have them make a lasting impression in word and deed if the Torah is to survive. When we talk about in deed, we are referring to doing mitzvot. Doing mitzvot deepens the love we share with God. You may experience this yourself when you do something to help a person in need. It feels good to do things like that. It brings you closer to God. The commandment to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might in the V'ahavta can be understood as a commandment to do the mitzvot with a feeling of joy and love. When you perform a mitzvah in this way, it deepens your love for God. The commandment to love God is not just in order to feel a particular emotion. Rather, it is a commandment about the attitude you have when you do things that draw you closer to God. Loving God and deepening your love for God is a choice you make every day through your actions. And so as you hear the words which have become the watchword of our faith, our Shema, think about the mitzvot, the teaching you will do, the impressions you will make, and those actions which can bring you closer to God. Tonight, we will introduce the Shema that we use in our Rock Shabbat, which is why I chose to speak right now, prior to singing it, with the musical preface, Open Up Our Eyes. Since I will be chanting the V'ahavta and the Torah tonight, I am excited for you to hear the Shema and the V'ahavta both chanted in Torah trope, one being a segue to the other as one complete prayer. So tonight, the Shema, Open Up Our Eyes, the Shema prayer, and I will save the V'ahavta for when I chant the Torah. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And and we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land. That the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together. The Prayer for Freedom on page 40 and 158 are Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze'elianu ve'ameru, Ze'elianu ve'ameru. Adonai yimaloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimaloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh, Nora tehilot oseh peleh. Our prayer to keep Shabbat, our V'shamaru, page 44 and 162. V'shamaru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, et HaShabbat la'asot, et HaShabbat ledorotam, barit olam, beni uvid b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'inava We now turn to pages 46 through 50 or 164 through 168. For our Amidah, our standing prayer, please rise and face east to open up our lips to God. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezra Tzara. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol ata, Rav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol, barachamim rabim, somech noflim, barafech olim, umatir asurim, umekayeh emunato, lishenei afar, micha mocha bal gevurot, umido melach, melech meimidu mechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. On page 59 or 177, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulcha na'el hodot. And now our beautiful, abundant prayer for peace, Shalom Rav. My son Noah is joining us. Thank you for joining me today, page 60, 168.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol ed ובכל שעה Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Take a few moments for silent meditation.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu.
We now turn to our Torah service, which you will find on page 246 or 364. And I invite Noah to open the ark and my husband Scott to say the blessing over the Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo. Gadalu Adonai te, Oneron Mema, Shemo Yakdav, Lecha Adonai
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vezot ha-mitzvah, hachukim v'hamishpatim, asher tziva Adonai Elohechem lelamed etchem, la'asot ba'aretz, asher atem, ovadrim eshama larishta. Lama'an tira et Adonai Elohecha, lishamor et kol chukotav, umitzvotav asher anochi mitzavecha. Ata uvinecha uvin bincha, kol yemei hayecha, lama'an yarichun yamecha. V'shamata Yisrael, v'shamarta la'asot, asher yatav lecha, asher tirbun me'od, ke'asher diber Adonai, Elohei avotecha lecha eretz, zavat chalav udvash. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol lebavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alevavecha, V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'leftecha v'aderech, u'v'shokbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
I would like to translate And this is the instruction, the laws and the rules that the Lord your God has commanded me to impart to you, to be observed in the land which you are about to cross into and occupy, so that you, your son, and your son's son may revere the Lord your God and follow as long as you live all his laws and commandments which I enjoin upon you, to the end that you may long endure. Obey, O Israel, willingly and faithfully, that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, as the Lord, the God of your fathers, spoke to you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. With our Torah out, we bless those in need of a healing prayer, the Mishaberach, which can be found on page 253 and 371. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We will now ask Noah to come lift our Torah as we return the Torah to the ark. V'zot Torah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Etz Chaim. Etz Chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomecheh meusha derachleha darchei noam v'chol netivotah shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Ilaha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedi. Alleluia. לשבח לאדון הכל, לתקדו לו ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, on life and death. In the period of Shloshim, we remember and we mourn with the families of Mel Stern and Sarah Horowitz. This week's yahrzeits: Samuel Aronson, Joseph Beelan, Albert Bayer, Minnie Brodsky, Hyman Budoff, Chaim Calderon, Charlotte Cohn, Jane Dalton, Bernice Eisenberg, Herman Ferbstein, Isidore Gergel, Beatrice Goodman, Rose Hollander, Albertine Judas, Marilyn Kent, Emil Korak, Nathan Kraus, Carol Kruger, Philip Lapidus, Francis Lebovich, Marie Frost Levin, Blanche Lieberman, Sybil Lowry, Nathan Morris, Alvin Neisser, Miriam K. Olson, Pearl Ostroff, Meyer Rappaport, Alma Rubin, Sadie Roth, Edward John Ruff, Regine Schottenstein, Irving L. Schwartz, Jenny Schwartz, Carl Shapiro, Samuel Paul Sobel, Elaine Volk, Jack L. Waldman, Michelle Walker, Shirley Surloff Weinstein, Bertha Weisfeld, Rose Wise. Keep all of these names in our hearts as we turn to the Mourner's Kaddish Shatom on page 294 or 598 in your prayer book. Please rise. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach yerutei v'imlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all those in mourning, to which we say, Amen. Having connected with those we've loved and lost, if there are people around you in your home, please reach out to them, put your arms around them as we give the blessing of the priests. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmorecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God cause his countenance to shine upon you and to be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yisem lecha shalom. May he lift up his face and grant you the most abundant prayer for peace as we all together say, Amen. If you have a Kiddush cup, please raise your glass and we will sing our Kiddush together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav b'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesha be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lamase bereshit ki hu yom techila lamikra kodesh zecher l'tziyat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinkatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Would you like to uncover the challah? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Before we conclude, just a few brief announcements. The first is that I will be back on Tuesday for our musical meditation. And this Wednesday, for our Lunch and Learn, our administrator will be teaching those of you who would like to learn how to make ads for social media or learn how to do e-cards. She will be helping you at noon on Wednesday for a Lunch and Learn. So it should be really interesting. And so I gave a little teaser that now Disney Plus is showing Hamilton, and it's one of our favorite shows. So we thought we'd just do a little something, a throwback from 2015, done by Avi Schwartz in another congregation, but it's just a lot of fun. So enjoy.
Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imeru. V'kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen.
Adonai Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol Yitzir Nira, Li'ed Nasa, V'chefso kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'acharei, Kiklot HaKol, Levado Yimlok Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Oveh, V'hu Yiyeh Yipipara, Adonai Olam Hashem Malach.
Da 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 da
Da da da da da, da 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 da.
Everybody.
Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da ya da da da.
da
Da, da, da. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Eli.